What does it take to extend secure identities to cloud-based applications? At the recent Secure World Expo in Houston, we talked with Mike Donaldson of Ping Identity to learn more about the basics of making sure you know who's really in your cloud.
For most enterprises, when they start to think about going to the cloud, it's a question of they want to move applications to the cloud that their employees are using. And either it's internal applications or they're buying SaaS applications, but it's employees getting access to SaaS applications. And so the way to think about securing that is the enterprise is already managing identities for those employees, already has built up a security architecture around those employees. So what we would recommend is to leverage that existing investment and that existing authentication mechanism and extend that so that it reaches out to the cloud. And the ideal mechanism for doing that is the SAML protocol, which is designed to make identities portable, and it effectively implements single sign-on from the employee's perspective. So an employee can come into work, log into Windows, which is of course the enterprise infrastructure, click on a link in their portal, and they go directly into, say, Salesforce.com without having to authenticate again. And the great thing about this from the enterprise's perspective is they leverage their existing investment in identity management and security. And from the service provider side, they don't have to duplicate the investment and the effort to re-implement, all that same infrastructure which already exists in the enterprise. Enterprises have any different levels of sophistication in terms of enterprise identity management infrastructure. They may have a directory, and most of them have a directory and authentication because they have internal applications like email that users have to get into one way or the other. They may have web access management, they may have provisioning, they may have all kinds of other things. The good news from a cloud security perspective is that the kind of functionality we provide really builds on that lowest level, which is the directory, specifically Active Directory, or LDAP, or custom directories. And most companies of any size at all already have that piece of infrastructure in place. So you don't have to have the entire stack to do the federated identity piece to go out and do the cloud security. There's a little bit of confusion because sometimes you see analyst diagrams and they show the federated identity SAML piece on the top of the stack, which implies either it requires everything below it or you do this last. Neither of which are correct. Actually, that layer can run just as nicely on the bottom level, the directory, without any of those in-between pieces in place.
And talk a little bit about the role of stronger authentication when you're letting people access applications out in the cloud. What level of interest you're seeing in using stronger credentials or methods of authentication?
Sure. When you go to cloud applications and you realize that you're back to using usernames and passwords as the authentication mechanism, people are very correctly realizing the password is absolutely the weakest link in the whole security chain and the biggest point of vulnerability. So many of these hacking attacks and phishing attacks are all about stealing passwords. As a result, now is a great time to shift the security model from what does someone know to what does someone know and what does someone have. So this is sort of basic security. So we are seeing a big spike in interest in the use of strong auth, and specifically strong auth mechanisms to front-end access to cloud applications. And this does totally make sense. We've been expecting people to get more interested in strong auth for several years now. And there's always the battle between sort of usability and security, and people want more security as long as it's not any harder to use. And now we're at the point where when they're looking at all of these cloud applications they want to get access to, there are ways to put a strong auth mechanism in place so that you only have to authenticate once, but then get access to all of your cloud applications. So it's easy and it's secure, and so that is a combination that we're seeing a lot more interest in this year.
Anything else you wanted to add on the topic fundamentals of securing the cloud or secure cloud?
So the primary use case right now is employees going out to external applications, but that really is just the start. We're starting to see people also use the cloud as a mechanism for managing their customers' identities. So it's kind of the opposite scenario where users go into a cloud-based identity store like Salesforce.com's customer portal, and then from there they single sign on into enterprise applications. So that's a use case I think we're going to be seeing more of in the future. And it just goes to show there are many different ways to use the cloud and many different ways to look at the flow of identities with cloud-based computing.
And this is Sharon J. Watson reporting for Security Squared.